Boom. How you guys doing? And ladies, how we doing? How we doing? How we doing?
What's up, brother?
What's up? Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Excited to be here. Excited to be here. It sounds almost too quiet now without the cool music going. Hey, good morning. This is the Thursday free coaching call with me, Randy Byrd, and you, my favorite people. But I'm glad to be here. I'm really excited. I think I have a message that's going to be really valuable for you today. And like we talk about, I do this call every single week. It's a free call. It's made to be supportive of you. And, you know, the structure is I have about 15, 20 minutes.
Hi, Rhonda, how are you?
Oh, somebody's not muted. I think it was Wendy. So the idea is a 15 or 20 minutes window of a coaching nugget, a coaching opportunity, something that may be valuable to you. And then we open up for Q&A. I love the Q&A because it goes different directions, right? This is open for anybody, not only my organization, but outside the organization. So if you want to invite somebody to this, if you want to invite a guest that's not with the XP, you want to invite somebody that is a friend of yours that's thinking about real estate, whatever you want, it's open. I invite all to attend, and you know, we hopefully have some fun with it. So I want to jump right in. We have something going on that's happening very quickly, and it's a shift in the market. And believe it or not, all the economists and everybody said that we're going to cruise through 2022 without, you know, much change. And a lot of the big economists put expectations on 2022 and into 23 because the market was just so low in inventory. There was no real sign of it changing. Well, guess what? It changed, and it's changing because of rates. Rates went up very significantly. And so what we're going to talk about today is, you know, probably something that is not maybe super sexy, but it's a need to know type situation. And that is the market is changing. And I think it will continue to change. And I'd rather have pie on my face being wrong than have you guys caught off guard and not, you know, me be right. From what I'm seeing, we're already seeing a change in, I think probably everybody have felt it, right? The rates changed a lot of things for buyers very quickly. All of a sudden, the amount of buyers that can afford, and unfortunately, it's affecting the lower end buyers. It's not affecting the guys that have $1 million and putting all cash, and it's not affecting them. Matter of fact, it's going to make it more cherry for them. The buyers that are frustrated because the market's so intense are going to have some reprieve. The top end buyers, the buyers that are outside jumbo loans, the buyers that are cash, they're going to have less competition. So that's going to be good for them, as well as maybe some flippers and things and people that have cash positions to take and have an advantage over that offer. So we're going to see some of that still happening, but rates are number one, and rates now are almost 6%. Think about that. I mean, I refinanced my house in 2022 for 2.25, and now they're 6%. So think about what that does to the buyers. I was looking at, and I don't want to quote numbers that are wrong. We'll probably be posting this to Facebook and some different things, but you know, a loan on a $500,000 house with the rates going up as much, it's like a $400 or $500 difference in a monthly payment. We're talking $100,000 over the course of the loan, or $150,000, $200,000 over the course of the loan. These little seemingly small rate hikes. But what you need to understand is when the feds raise it 0.5%, it doesn't mean it goes from 3 to 3.5, right? That's the basis points that they're buying money for. So it went from in the twos, squarely in the twos, right? We were seeing 2.75, 2.89. And then all of a sudden it kind of nudged to 3.1, 3.25 when the government was talking about it. But as soon as the rates hit, it went immediately into the fives, right? So now we're at 5, 5.5. I'm seeing 6 is a pretty average loan, 5.75. Are we seeing the same things by a raise of hands, right? We're seeing the same thing. So they're talking about another 0.5% raise in May, right? So that's just very quick. And they're trying to get ahead of inflation, which is out of control. This is not a political channel. Man, it'd be fun to do it, but it's not. And so we have to look at the reactionary side of what's going on, right? What's the actual impact it's having in our businesses? And another 0.5% is going to put it squarely into the 6.5 to maybe even 7% range mathematically. Well, that sounds bad for everybody, but remember historically what the markets looked like, right? In the 80s, the rates were 19%, and they went down to about 12% by the end of the 80s. And in the 90s, and all this data you can look up. I wish I would have prepared for that. That would have been fun to see that 30-year run of rates. But they've been above 10% for over half of the time between the 80s and now. And then, in the 90s, they started getting down and coming into the high single digits. And then again, in my career in 2003, we started in the high 6s and 7s. And then over that course of time, we went all the way down to the 2% range. And 4%, I remember at 4% in the market, it was probably about 2010. It was like, wow, 4%. This is the craziest low money I've ever seen in my life, right? It was like we were getting under 4% with fixed rate loans. And then they just continued down through that cycle. And now we're going to see an adjustment period. I do not, unless the government says, okay, we broke this, and they go backwards and start changing things aggressively, I think it's going to change the market. I think we've got, a period of time that's going to take to get out of that cycle of change that's already happened. So we have to be prepared for that in the real estate world. Interest rates are only one component. They're the number one component in my world, and in the agents that I coach around the nation. We're seeing a change already from this. I think everybody on the call were shaking their heads or nodding that they have seen a change in the last 30 to 60 days because of rates. The next thing is inflation. Inflation is a 40-year high. And again, this is not a soapbox. This is factual. Inflation is going to control this market and guide it also, because when you have inflation like we're having in gas and food and everything else, you start having people take away the comforts of everything from Netflix to gym memberships, and all these things start getting pressured because of the dollar's tighter, right? Well, that's going to affect the real estate market for sentiment of the future of that investment. We're still having appreciation in the double digits, but that will stop soon as we continue to have this market slow. What's propping this all up right now? Who knows what's really propping this all up? And it's kind of a false prop up, in my opinion. But right now, it's inventory, right? Lack of inventory is propping this all up. Where if we had a lot of inventory, we'd see a complete different swing. But the government's trying to get in front of this inflation error with these interest rates hikes and try and balancing out these sheets. So with that, it's going to affect us. It's going to affect us. And so the message to the buyers can be, hey, there is a market ahead of you, but again, today is the best time to buy. It's always been that way, right? The objection of I'm going to wait 6 months and see what happens in this market. Nobody controls when that market's up and down and so on. So if they're looking for a longer term investment, then now's the best absolute time to buy. We don't know what the future holds. There's obviously some opportunities for flippers and investors and people looking at the market change. If you're on the other side of the fence with the sellers, you want to be really aggressive for your seller conversations right now. We are in the highest and best market for a seller we've ever been in, period, end of story. Right? I want you to agree with that if you believe it. And if you don't believe it, I'd like to have a conversation around it. But right now, we are in the highest and best sellers market we've ever seen in almost every category. Do we think that's going to continue and go up? Right? So if it's not going up, that means we're at the top, correct? So in a seller conversation, motivation and really getting them to go now would be a great conversation to have with them. And then so as we progress in this market, and time will tell what happens. We usually have this pendulum effect in housing, right? Swings one way and then it doesn't just come back to dead. It goes the other direction. We have this pendulum effect. But inventory is going to guide what happens next, in my humble opinion. So from a coaching perspective, it's important for you guys to get your fundamentals in place more than ever, right? We've been riding a wave of a couple of years, and whether your personal business has had success or not, overall, the top agents in the nation have had their best years in their real estate career, right? And you may be one of those people. But when I look at fundamentals, from a coaching perspective, and what I'm having conversations with my coaching clients this week, it's like, okay, check mark. The market has changed, right? We've been waiting and looking at this. What goes up must come down. This is not doom and gloom. It's still on fire. But the fire is not 20 offers and 100,000 over asking price. The fire's changing, right? So I really want to encourage you to know your markets and find out and watch the micro changes. You got the macro things that are happening, but start watching those micro changes in your personal real estate businesses to see what's going on in your markets to stay in front of that. And it's really simple to do in your particular MLSs by looking at market statistics and watch average sales price, average price per square foot, average days on the market. These are going to start moving in the metrics is going to start being noticeable. Be the expert in that area. So a couple coaching nuggets. It's kind of, I have that sheet in my coaching files, like my meat and potatoes, right? It's my fundamentals. It's the things that I can always go to when the market's going crazy, when the market's contracting, with whatever's going on. These are my meat and potato coaching nuggets that I want to share with you guys today. So they're not in any particular order, but I want you to think of it from this perspective. Where are you in your business? What's your 1 and 2 year plan, objective, and goal for your particular business, right? And then we can kind of lay these layers on top of that and see if they fit and see if you're on track to really be ready to take advantage of the next opportunity. Because when things are going up, there's an opportunity. When things are going down, there's an opportunity, right? Just depends which side of the coin you're on. So number 1, and again, no particular order. And I love this one, excuses. Excuses are for those that need them. Don't need excuses. Ride the wave of opportunity. Be the one that's knowledgeable in what's happening with the market and where things are going to be going in the near future, right? Pay attention to that, because the buyers that had no chance are going to have a chance in the near future. The buyers that were in a power position are going to have more power in the future. So having those conversations with them and getting your tools and your tools sharpened for what's coming, I think it's going to be very important for you, because I do think it's going to be noticeable. And there's already talks of recession. Think about that. We're in the greatest market of time. The stock market until recently has been the strongest market in our history. All these things were really just amazing, right? Everything we're looking at, we're very optimistic. There was a lot of optimism when we look at that. All of a sudden, that tide has changed. Inflation's out of control. This is not a red, blue, Democratic, Republican thing. This is factual, right? It's out of control. There's no control in sight for it. And now there's a lot of uncertainty in other areas, from everything from Ukraine to domestic policy, immigration. All these other things are all just filtering in to add uncertainty, tension, or pressure to the mindset of people. Don't make excuses in your business. Just don't do it. Just stay away from it. The next thing is defense. Now's the time. And we did this in 2005, 6, and 7 when we were coaching and really seeing the market changing. It changed very quickly, but it was related to bad lending practices. It wasn't related to anything really that we're focusing on now. It was strictly a collapse of a financial institution in 6, 7, 8, whenever that time frame to pinpoint it was, right? I know a lot of economists have the date on the calendar. It was like July 3rd, 2007. That's when everything changed. I don't know the date exactly, but we can go back and look at that bell curve that just went bam. I think that we're going to see that again in the future. It's not today. It's towards the end of the year, 2003, 23, whatever it may be, but it could be sooner than later. But defense, checking your P&Ls for waste. This is really, really important right now. I'm doing it, and I have a pretty good size organization, a pretty good size outlay of money that goes to a monthly expense. But those little 1995s, that little 795, they add up freaking quick, right? So I want you just to really do do an analysis of your business and find out the things that you really need, the things that are you're committed to and working, and double down on those things and start cutting some of this stuff out now before it gets to a point to where you're like, okay, now I'm in a trough. Now I've got no listings, no escrows, and now I'm in this trough, right? So we want to keep that momentum to keep the predictability in your business. And you can do that by playing defense with your budget and with your P&Ls. And then on the other side of the coin, play offense. Play into the things that we can control. Let's just take it off mute for just a minute. Tell me the things in your business you can control.
Attitude.
Attitude, absolutely. Good one. What else?
Outbound calling.
Conversations.
Yep, your calling, your dials, as Rich said. What else?
Time management.
Time management, 100%. What else?
Could still do free YouTube videos.
Correct. Yep. You could step up your social media game and your presence in both YouTube and social media. TikTok, maybe you've been avoiding that. Maybe it's a time to take advantage of that. Sweat equity stuff, right? Not check equity stuff. What else? What else can you control? You can control engagements, right? You could be laser focused on how many engagements you want to have every day in your business. And then that translates to every week, every month, and every year. Your 411, as Keller Williams teaches, right? What are you going to do in the next 4 weeks, in the next 1 quarter, the next 1 year? What are we going to do in our business over the next year? And then break it down into that kind of 411. So effort, dials, engagements, attitude, enthusiasm, all those things you can control, right? So these are measurables, KPIs, we call them, key performance indicators in your business. And so if you're focused on those, then we can predict your business if we look at those KPIs, those measurements that are in your control. The next one is an acronym SAM I use, S-A-M, SAM I am. I don't know what that was from, but somebody probably will remember. But and that just stands for sales and marketing, right? This is the time to really key and hone in on your brand. This is the market is changing in a couple ways. We're not only changing economically with rates and inflation and all the things that go into that, and wild appreciations, 20, 30. I saw a 40% appreciation in my market in a specific area yesterday when we were looking at appreciation numbers. Crazy. And it's properties over 2 acres, under 2,000 or 2,000 square foot, in that range, but they appreciated 40% last year. And so sales and marketing, the key to your brand and the brand of your public opinion. Who are you as a public opinion person, right? So Google yourself, get back to the fundamentals of who you are to the world, because as you do more video and you start doing all this stuff, it's going to add up to them looking you up in Google, and you want to make sure your presence is correct there. The next thing is what matters. What matters in your business is just so important. And I've narrowed it down to these couple things for my coaching clients. It's meeting and servicing sellers and showing buyers homes and writing offers. That's it. That's really all that matters when you look at your business from a 30,000 foot elevation. What happens, we get in the granular, we get in the weeds, and we're like, yeah, but we have to make these bottles every week because that's part of my business. And I have to send out thank you cards every week, and I have to do this. And if you get granular in it, it's hard to look at it from the 30,000 foot elevation view. So what I recommend is remove yourself, look at your business from that, more 30,000 foot elevation view, and say, how much of my time, we talked about time management, we control, enthusiasm, all these things, but look at it from that perspective and say this: how much of my time is servicing sellers and meeting with sellers and servicing buyers and showing homes and writing offers? How much of your envelope of time is committed to those two things? And everything else should fill the bucket, right? But if you're busy, and you look at that and you're not focused on those two things that matter, then I think you're going to have a struggle. Everything else besides those two things is support, period, right? It's an easy thing to say, but it's a hard thing to do. Everything else in your business is support. I don't care if you're doing videos or if you're doing webinars or if you're doing trainings or if you're focusing on whatever it may be. At the end of the day, servicing sellers and taking care of buyers is the fundamental principles of your business. Everything else is support to that. Don't let your support be 70% of your business and the activity on the top be 30%. Let it be the other way around, right? Remember to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. That's a big statement, but it applies to what we're talking about. And then the last thing is the real estate business is just math. To me, it's just math, right? If you show me your numbers, I'll show you who you are. And it's like the old statement, remember, show me who your friends are, I'll show you who you are. You're the sum of your 5 closest friends. Well, business is just math when we look at the real estate business. This is the part that makes it sexy to me. It makes it appealing because I can put my foot on the gas pedal and watch the numbers, correlate. It's like an RPM gauge in your car. If you make more dials and make more impressions and make more contacts, you're going to see the business increase. And it's just math. The business is just math. Everything else is just drama. That's a Jim Rohn statement. Show me your numbers and I will tell you your story, right? So I don't need to hear your story. Show me your numbers and I'll tell you your story. That's a Jim Rohn statement that I love. It's tested over time, right? So when you're looking at it from this perspective, it's just a matter of math. If your business, and I'll give you a number, use 40 just as a high number, but you can use 40 as a divisible number against how many transactions you want to do. So if you want to do, let's just use a big number, 100 transactions. That means you have to times it by 40, and that's how many communications you have to have in that year to do 100 transactions, right? So 100 times 40 is 4,000. Right? That's a big number. That's how many communications you have to have in a year to talk about buying and selling and investing in real estate that translates to 100 transactions. That's just a number in math. And it could be as low as 25 for somebody very proficient, somebody skilled. I would like to say that I'm in that 20 range, 20, 25 conversations to a transaction in my database. And as an average, like when the Tom Ferry organization, we had 34, what we determined through all of our coaching clients, that number was gospel. If you had 34 conversations, it will translate into a transaction over the next 90 to 180 days. So think about that. If your goal is, let's pick a number. Say your goal is 25 transactions in the next 12 months or calendar year. 25 times 40 is 1,000 conversations. That sounds like a lot, but I want to do quick math with you. Let's divide that by 12. That's 83 conversations a month. That still sounds like a lot. Let's divide it by 4 weeks. That's 20 conversations a week. All of a sudden, that sounds pretty doable, doesn't it? If I said, hey, I'm going to guarantee you do 25 deals next year. All you have to do is talk to 20 people per week. You're like, that's not that many. And then you divide that by 5. That's 4 conversations per day. Now I sit back and I'll ask anybody, are you willing to make 4 conversations a day in real estate? That sounds like child's play. But the reality is discipline of doing it every single day, right? Doing 4 today, doing 4 tomorrow, doing 4 Saturday if you forgot today. So next week, you don't have any regrets. You're just living in a numbers system because business is math. And then if you do that, if you're able to accomplish that, based on your skill set, you'll have an average of about 35 to 40 conversations that relate to a transaction. So again, if you're looking at the math, if you're doing 4 a day, that's 20 a week. Based on my numbers, every 2 weeks, you should be able to get a transaction into escrow and close it based on this math. Now, you may have to build up to this, to the funnel belief system of building that momentum. And then all of a sudden the math will start making itself work, right? So that's my fundamental kind of my core principles that I go to in good markets, in good, bad markets. This is like what I've identified through 9 years of coaching and 10,000 plus coaching hours is kind of the fundamentals. This is the gravel and the concrete and the thick foundation to support this high rise that you're going to be building in your real estate business. So with that, I'm going to stop this portion of it and then go to a Q&A to make sure that we have anonymity for anybody that doesn't want to be on Facebook and all that stuff like we talk about. But I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for being on the free coaching call today. Stay here. We're not leaving. But But as far as the recording from the coaching piece of it that we'll categorize and kind of catalog into our website and stuff, that's going to be this portion for this morning. All right. So bear with me.